Hi guys, on that spirit of the strategy of empowerment, I hope you said hi to me. So welcome to Organic Adventures, and of course I'm your host, the Organic Guy. And this time around we are at the SACTEP Kenya offices. So we are here to see Maina of Kenya Biodiversity Coalition to try and just talk about biodiversity. What is the importance of biodiversity, and of course delve deep into a very controversial topic, depending on which camp you're talking about, the issue of GMOs. It's a very hot topic right now. There is pro and against GMOs. So we're gonna outlay and have a conversation around it, and hopefully you guys will pick a thing or two from this particular conversation. So what is GMO, right? Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? What impact does it have in terms of agriculture and ourselves in terms of food production? Will it be able to make us food secure? Will it not? So these are some of the topics that we are going to touch and talk about, and hopefully it will steer a conversation that can be able to be talked about for many more years to come. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, hope you're ready for this particular adventure, and just make sure you fasten those seatbelts and get ready to experience this particular organic magic. So I've read reports where the multinationals, say we will be giving seeds to the GMO seeds to farmers for free. But how sustainable is that? I'm just picturing a point where they might get and say
it's a way to get you hooked to it.
Yes.
If you look at a country like Malawi, Malawi introduced what they call the fertilizer support program.
Yeah.
Similar to something we had in Kenya. The first 1 or 2 years, the company was supplying free to the government.
Yes.
And of course it was reaching the farmers. They got hooked into it. After 2 years, you buy. Malawi, which is a very small country, currently spends about $200 million on the fertilizer support program. Because once you start using it,
money.
Yes, because they have to support the farmers. Because once you started on it, it's like a drug.
Yes.
You start off bit by bit, but the next time you're selling your kanzu because you want to get the supply. You are hooked to it. So the farmers are hooked to it. The soils are becoming graded. Each season you have to use more fertilizer. It's unlike the organic or the agroecology way. The agroecology way builds the soil. So as you continue, production goes up. But with fertilizer and chemical inputs, it's going down. Every time you have to add more to get production, So it was a good investment for them. They gave you for free for 2 years.
Yes.
They've hooked you for the next 30 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can see there must be a trick somewhere. There's nothing for free nowadays. And for us who are lucky enough to get the free milk from the 10th president way, I think it ended over there. So it's important that we are saying they. Who are they? We say the people who are pushing this agenda.
It's mostly
but who are these people?
Multinationals.
Yes.
That are very big in the seed industry. They are big in the fertilizer industry. They are big even in the inputs and the chemicals, pesticides, herbicide industry. Yes, and I'm sure you know most of them. These are multinationals. Yeah.
So on that point, we've seen the GMO debate. It's very high in the West, especially in the US. They've been growing for quite a while, and most of the criticism or people label against the GMO supporters is that they have a lot of money. So for example, if you see the Monsantos, which are being labeled as the giants behind GMOs, they have a lot of budgets, and recently they got merged with Bayer. So you're seeing we've seen their effects that they have in the West, especially in the US, and there is accusation of them. It's a revolving door between the FDA, the national regulation body, and the Monsantos. Now they are able to have a grasp of that sector, so they control it in terms of the seeds. If there's a major thing or proposition that needs to be passed, they are easy to influence and have their effect on. So we are seeing the same people coming into the country. So for example, you're seeing them setting up camps here in Kenya. Are you seeing, or are you worried that they may have the same effect in the country in terms of pushing forward to the growing of GMOs?
Yes, I agree with you. These companies, once they get a grip, you know, at the end of the day, the population has to have food. You know, big revolutions have come up because of food.
Yes.
If you can't give us bread and you can't give us cake, you remember the French, the French Revolution was about the issue of the bread or cake.
Yes.
And the people said we want bread. She was like, give them cake. If they can control the food industry, they control the economy. Because the government, for example, like 2 years ago, 2 years ago when there was a food, last year I think, there was food, there was not much food. The government gave money and removed even the taxes on maize. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you cannot rule over people who are hungry.
True.
Yeah. So there's that revolving door, and you're very right. Yeah. And then the consolidation of power among the companies, the buyout of Monsanto by Bayer, and they changed their name to Bayer. Yeah. Because the name Monsanto was becoming too wrong for everyone. Yes. Too wrong for everyone. So you find it's now a big conglomerate. Yeah. It can their budget is several times the budget of Kenya in a year. Wow. In the US already they are controlling the agriculture industry, like you say, the revolving door. So if you open the door for them here in Kenya, we are still a developing country. Yeah. It can be very dangerous for us. If you look, for example, at issues related to seed, already we have our seed laws that are UPOV 1991 compliant. These laws are very punitive on smallholder farmers. They do not recognize smallholder farmers as breeders. They have a provision for what they call seed inspectors. So the seed inspector can come to your farm because you grew your local maize, but your neighbor grew maize that is maybe a hybrid, and they cross, and we come and test your maize and we see our gene in your maize. You will pay for it. Wow. It does not allow exchange of seed. It doesn't allow smallholder farmers. It does not recognize their contribution to breeding. And as if you see, smallholder farmers are treated as people who don't know anything, and they have been breeding and feeding us for many years, since time immemorial. And so it's important that even in our seed laws, we look at these issues and stand firm. Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania have some special provision which they call quality declared seed, QDS. This quality declared seed can be exchanged among several, in an area like 7 villages can exchange seeds. Yes. But in Kenya it's very punitive. It is just that some places it has not been implemented fully. But if it is implemented fully, it is going to open a door for the multinationals, and local seed will lose them. Already we are talking about biodiversity loss. When companies control these seeds, will be reduced to just a few seeds that you can use, and you pay for them dearly to do production. And that is a very dangerous path for a country. If you look at the case of Dwayne Johnson and Roundup, the active ingredient is called glyphosate. Glyphosate has been declared by the World Health Organization as a possible carcinogen. It is widely used in Kenya. As Roundup, or because the content on glyphosate is not there, you'll find it in other names like Weedol. Local names. Local names that are used.
The active ingredients in the same.
Yes, and you can see the rising cases of cancer in the country. Because you as a farmer upstream, you're using Roundup, you're using Weedol. It flows down when it rains. It comes to the water bodies. We all drink from that river. So even if you're trying to protect yourself, unless the government is very strict, some of these chemicals that are used in Kenya have been banned in Europe. In Europe, they were used in the days of the World War to make bombs. They have nowhere to take these chemicals. So dump them in Africa. They're the ones being used to as as a dumping ground, and you're buying for it.
Yeah.
And you go and you spray your tomatoes. You go to the market, the tomatoes are even smelling of the chemicals.
Yeah.
The chemicals are even banned in Europe because they were being used in the days of the World War to make bombs, and they have nowhere to take these chemicals.
Yeah.
And so we are using them, and it's affecting our health. Look at the cancer cases. Every family has been affected.
Yes.
They have a person who has cancer. The cost of treatment is so high. It's depleting resources. People are selling their properties because of these chemicals. And for us as the Kenya Biodiversity Coalition, we stand and say we are promoting agroecology. Let us go back. It will take time, but let us practice agriculture that feeds us and reinvigorates the soils for the future generation.
Yeah. So it's very important also, you've mentioned about the pesticides and the effect that it has. One of the things that are labeled towards GMO is that they'll be able to reduce the amount of chemicals that will be used in their growing. But we've seen that's not the case. Right? So, for example, South Africa, there was a report that came out since 2012, there is an increase in terms of the amount of chemicals they've been using, from 10 million gallons of pesticides to over 20. So clearly there is a disconnect there. So that's another worry in terms of the effect that we know that are already happening when someone is exposed to these chemicals for a long time. As a country, what are some of the things that you see we can learn from the Africans who are, because there are some African countries which are already doing GMOs, South Africa, Burkina Faso, Egypt. So what are some of the lessons that you see we can draw from those countries?
I think the evidence, especially related to BT cotton and BT maize. For example, in Kenya, the maize variety that is being pushed to be introduced is a variety called MON 810. Is what they are testing in Kiboko, and which has been put under what they used to call the water efficient maize for Africa. Yeah. Unfortunately, MON 810 failed in South Africa. They had to do a stacked variety. I know for a fact that there's been an application in South Africa for a triple stacked variety. Double didn't work.
So before we continue, stacked, what does that mean?
Two GM varieties mixed together. So MON 810 and I think MON 8, I would have to confirm. Yeah. A stack would be MON 810 and MON 8. Maybe I think it's
so different. Those are about
GMOs.
3 different genes that are inserted into one.
Double.
Yes.
Yeah. 3 are triple stack. So the MON 810 failed. It's a single trait. Yeah. Then double failed. The Monsanto had applied for a triple stacked, and I think the regulatory agency was tired and they refused. They said we are not going to approve this. Yeah. MON 810 was banned in France and several European countries. And it's a variety that we are being pushed for here. It's even a variety that is old age. The patent on it has been lifted. It's over 20 years. Yeah. So it's actually tumedampiwa. We're being told we're being helped, but it's dumped on you. Okay. It's been dumped on us.
We think it's new.
Yeah, and we think it's new. It's nothing new. It's something that has been dumped on us. The challenges of super weeds and super pests has been evident with BT cotton, even BT maize, because they say it will reduce pesticide use or the number of times that you spray, but in reality in South Africa you increase. The population, for example, in South Africa has realized the importance of going organic. So the growing movement of agroecology has really grown because people are tired of these chemicals. We want to protect our health. Yeah. Even in Kenya, the movement towards organic and practicing agroecology, the practice has really moved forward because of these challenges that you see. Yeah. Furthermore, if you look, for example, in the US, the case of Dwayne Johnson, this guy who sued Monsanto because of Roundup, and was awarded 200 million USD. That is becoming quite evident. If you look at, for example, Argentina, those plantations. You know the challenge with when you're growing the GM, you have to do it as a monocrop. You cannot start mixing it with things. And if you look at Argentina, where they do huge maize plantations, they spray even with small aeroplanes. The effect on the population, people dying of cancer, disease that cannot be understood.
Yeah.
Children dying is a big challenge.
Yes.
If you look, for example, at a chemical called 2,4-D, it's used especially in wheat production.
Wow.
Even here in Narok. 2,4-D is a product of Agent Orange, which was used in Vietnam during the war.
And we actually saw its effect on people.
Children being born without limbs.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. Roundup now is being used as to dry. It's so sad that you find a wheat farm, because the farmer wants everything to dry uniformly.
Yeah.
You spray Roundup and it dries uniformly. We are all at risk. We are eating chemicals.
Wow.
And so it's important that as a Kenyan, as a consumer, we stand up for our rights and demand that this country does not accept GMOs. It bans these toxic chemicals and we go back organic.
Yes.
Promotion by the government of organic and diversification of our food products.
Yeah.
It's not just about maize. We can eat so many other products. But now, even the government in its policies just talks about maize, which is a sad situation.
Yeah. So yes, it's very important you've been able to highlight, some of the developments and the things that are happening, especially in the development of GMOs in Kenya and in Africa at large. So what is your advice? What's the way forward that as Kenyans we can be able to take?
I think our call to action to move towards promotion of agroecology.
Yes.
Already in Kiambu County government, they have declared that they are going to practice agroecology. We are working with the Ministry of Agriculture there.
Wow.
The steps may be small, but we are promoting agroecology, which is all-encompassing, where we want the Kenyan population to have what we call food sovereignty.
Yes.
Not food security. Food security could mean you're eating maize every day. Food sovereignty, you have a right to choice related to your cultural aspects, your needs and everything. You have your tastes. You have a right to that. And you can only achieve that with agroecology. Let us go back to the foundation.
Yes.
You as, for example, a young man, if you have a small plot of land behind your house, are you growing vegetables for your children? Why should you buy every day? How are you promoting urban? Because at the end of the day, the most affected people, especially the urban poor, who have to buy food that is sometimes not very good because of the high residue levels in it. When it's rejected at JKIA, the French beans are rejected at JKIA, they end up in the local market. Because Europe is very strict in terms of the things.
Sad.
So everything that's rejected there is returned here, which is very wrong because we are killing ourselves slowly. And for us, we want to call on the practice of agroecology in Kenya for biodiversity conservation. Number 2, we urge the government to keep the ban on GMOs on and take it a step further. Declare Kenya a country that's going to promote organic farming and agroecology. GMOs will not take us anywhere. Even for growing, if you want to revive the cotton industry, we are better off moving with the conventional varieties. Because once we go the GMO way, we are going to affect our farmer livelihoods, our socioeconomics, and even our health. Because these foods are not fit for human consumption. They are not proved that they will not cause damage to our systems. And urging the government, these chemicals that are brought into Kenya, some which are banned even in Europe, can we have them banned in Kenya? We don't need those chemicals. We are being used as a dumping ground for chemicals that are in stores and people have nowhere to take them. So we as the Kenya Biodiversity Coalition remain steadfast in our call for the government of Kenya to release the Thyro report, so that we all know what Professor Kihumu Thyro and his team, the decisions they made or the recommendations they made. And we believe that Kenya will remain GMO free.
Thank you once again for having us, and it's a pleasure. And it's a conversation that clearly a lot of people are going to get a lot of insights to information that they wouldn't obviously get on the service level. And thank you for your time and for delving deep.
Thank you, and karibu tena many more times we talk and speak more on these issues.